What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. We're going to be talking about quite a few things on the show today. Well, the main thing, I guess, the big thing we're going to talk about is that image of Wolverine and Deadpool side by side. A lot of Deadpool news lately, and now we got the rumor of Wolverine's suit. Now we get the confirmation with the image that everybody's passing around at the moment. Insidious, the latest movie, going off of what we've been talking about on this show a lot. The budget, small budget, hits number one, dethrones Indiana Jones in its second week. And the Songs of Freedom also doing the same thing, a smaller budget movie making some big waves on the box office. So we'll talk about maybe this is a sign that people will start to pay attention to go for the smaller budgets to try to make a bigger profit. We'll see. What else? Well, James Gunn talking about Superman, Constantine 2. Looks like it is happening after all. And the same thing, there's some other news, other Warner Brothers movies that thought were dead that are coming back to life. So they say. That and more on today's show. So if you have an opportunity, make sure you go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go over there. That helps us out tremendously. We're on video over on Spotify as well. And you can go over to the website, thekristianharloff.com. Shoes and Beef, the animated series, is up there right now. And Capes and Cowls, issue number 1 on the site at the moment. If you get it a la carte, when you get it a la carte, I should say, that every time you get a copy of the a la carte, whether it's digital or an actual physical copy, that is where my man Wicked Art goes and gets a little bit of the proceeds for each one that is sold. So check it out. It's a fun little series, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's get into it, everybody. Let's get into the big thing. It's me and you. I'm ready. You're ready. Let's do it. What up, everybody? Welcome back. It is the big thing. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I tried again, guys. I tried again with the clip outs thing. I don't understand how it works. I thought I was starting to pay attention to the freaking YouTube algorithm. Someone told me the other day, so you're never going to catch it. So it's not a matter of catching it. It's a matter of chasing it. If it makes a right-hand turn, you always got to go right. But I was trying to, because short-form content always helps the channel out, obviously. So I wanted to start doing clip-outs on this channel. Taking portions of the show and certain topics that we talk about, and whether it's interview things or stories, and put them up there and see how they do. And I put one up there, did okay, and then I put another one and ate shit. So I was like, I might just go back to going to the Kristian Harloff and Friends channel, where I'm just going to make that a clip out channel. I'll still do live streams over there, but to continue and then just I have no short form content over there anyway. So maybe I'll just make that the clip out channel. When it doesn't do well, who gives a shit? But I just can't mess around with this channel. And you guys are just, because Big Thing has been doing really well. The episodes have been doing really well, and you guys have been tuning in. And I don't want it to mess with things. So I'd love to get your thoughts on it. What do you think? That's where I think I'm going to go with it, because the clip out's just not working. I've tried it so many different times, and I've tried it before on that Kristian Harloff and Friends channel. It didn't work over there either, those clip outs. And but I figured now over there, it doesn't really matter. It's just real estate that I only use for live stream right now. So I might as well just try it. And if it takes off, it takes off. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think that's where the clips are going to live. I think I'm going to start doing that. All right, there's some news. Let's start with the big news that dropped today. Now we got our first look at Hugh Jackman in the classic Wolverine costume. There it is. This is from Bloody Disgusting. The character's first official foray into the MCU, Deadpool 3, is arriving in theaters on May 3rd, 2024. And a new sneak peek image has been shared. Hugh Jackman will be back as Wolverine one more time in Deadpool 3, reprising the role that he played for the final time in Logan back in 2017. He is, of course, starring alongside Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Reynolds has taken to social media to share the above first look image this morning, featuring Deadpool and Wolverine side by side. It's a still from the upcoming Deadpool 3, and the most notable thing about the image is that it features Jackman fully suited up in the classic yellow and black Wolverine costume that fans have been dying to see him step in. Okay, so Yeah, absolutely. That's something everybody has been looking to see, right? It's that picture and that suit rather that he's wearing in the picture, and it's that old school Wolverine feel from the I guess the animated series and the comics, and people are getting more and more hyped about this, and for a lot of different reasons, right? The first reason is it's Wolverine. It's one of the more beloved characters, not only in comic books but in what Hugh Jackman has done for the character in all of the movies, and especially with Logan, and especially with I mean X-Men X2, and so many different roles, so many different times that he's just brought so much more to the character, and it's like one of those roles that you couldn't imagine anyone else playing because he did it for so long. I think 2000 was the first one that he ever did. So I love the fact that he's coming back, and I love the fact that he's coming back because Ryan Reynolds got him to do it, and there was so much of that kind of friendly banter that was leading to it. But I think that's one of the reasons there's so much hype behind this movie is that Ryan Reynolds is a marketing genius. He's a marketing genius. And obviously, you look at what he did with his company, Mint Mobile. Yes, they are a sponsor. No, none at the moment. But nonetheless, even if they weren't, I would say that they what he's done, look at what he's done with that company in general. But then look at the way he just teases things. And I think Coy Jandra brought this up on Capes and Cowls on Friday. And he talked about Ryan Reynolds, and he talked about how D23, they had an opportunity to talk about Deadpool 3 and to announce that Wolverine was coming back, and they chose not to. They chose to do it I think it was a couple of days later or a week later. I don't remember. Maybe it could have been a day later, but nonetheless, it wasn't on that day. And I think that was obviously planned. I think it was partially planned by Reynolds, if not all planned by Reynolds, to say, no, we don't want it to just be a string of announcements, and that's one of the announcements. We want to be the announcement. And that's what they did, right? And they got a lot of hype behind it, and they did it in a very creative way, and they did it in a fun way, and people were talking about it. And he's done that consistently, and he's done that. He did that with the Mario Lopez thing that he did for Deadpool. I think with the announcement of how it was going to be a hard R back in, was it 2016? I think 2017, one of the two. Either way, so he's very good at that, and he knows how to get people talking about it. And there's a continuation of that into Deadpool 3, and whether it's the news of Jennifer Garner coming back as Elektra, and then these little things that are happening, and the little cameos that are coming out, but then it's this this announcement that he makes to show there's a reason that people started talking about the costume, and whether or not it was something that was planned or not planned, he pays attention to all this stuff, and he pays attention to what people are talking about, and maybe he was even like, let's put this thing out, let's put the image out, and there you go. There's the hype behind it, and now people are talking about it. It's one of the biggest stories of the day so far, and it's just a picture of these two guys, but you want to see them together, and even in the picture alone, whether it's now, if this is a still from the actual film or just them kind of walking, or a scene from the movie itself. It looks like obviously they're going to be working together, and they're going to have some kind of. At first, I think they're probably going to fight each other, and it's probably going to be a crazy battle between the two of them because they both can heal, and it's probably be some crazy shit going on in the beginning, and then they'll start working together. But I think that again, Coy has been saying it a lot that Deadpool is going to pretty much be the end of the Fox universe and the end of it all, and I think that's accurate. I think this is going to blend into the new X-Men. I mean, it would be a fantastic way to introduce whoever the new Wolverine is going to be. I don't think they're going to do it, but it'd be a great way to do it. And this movie is going to do very well, and it's going to have the Deadpool hype around it. It's going to have an array of different celebrity cameo, I don't know, haymakers, if you will. And I think people are going to be excited about that off the bat, but there's also now, and then combine it with the MCU of it all, and finally being able to say, all right, here's this multiverse thing that we've been teasing, and this is the first time that we're really going to put it together on how this is going to play into Avengers and all that. And obviously it's a comedy, and it's going to have the breaking of the third wall and all of that. But I think that this has the opportunity to be one of the more hyped movies of next year for sure, but one of the more hyped movies of the upcoming MCU. Now, one of the things that has been a thing for sure is, and this is something that we've been talking about a lot on this show and in general, is how much is this movie going to cost? Because the other one, the first one barely cost $60 million. I think it was like $58 million for the first one, and the second one was probably, if I was to guess, probably 100. I hope they stay in that range, because that's what made those movies special. They had to play within a range that was very, very small compared to other big budget action movies, especially an MCU movie. I hope it's a smaller budget. I really do, because I think that it'll do it a disservice if it isn't. But I don't know. What do you guys think of the image? What do you think about just everything going on in it? What do you think about Wolverine in the new suit? What do you think about the timing of it? Go ahead and comment. Tell me exactly what you think. The other thing, before I move on, also, I wanted to tell you guys, I've talked about it many times on this show when it comes to sponsors that we have, but I was using a company called Truebill for a long time, which is now Rocket Money. And the reason why, and I way before they are a sponsor, and they're sponsoring this segment at the moment. But when they were inquiring about shows, I said, "Oh my God, I got to get Rocket on the show because I use them. It's very easy for me. Like some of the sponsors, when I will get them, I use them. I like this. I want to talk about it. I said I don't need to sign up. I'm already signed up. I love Rocket Money because I have so many different subscriptions, and I had so many different things that I was signed up to from over the years that I had no idea that if I was or wasn't. And they help you cancel subscriptions. You log in, you give them the information, and they go through everything. They say, well, you're paying for this, and this. Do you want to be? And they manages, and I also get, and it's great because I'll get like a notification that says from Rocket that basically says you spent this much this month that is typically X amount less than you normally do, X amount more. Here's why. This is what you spent on. And if you link it to your bank and everything too, it'll tell you, it'll say, hey, this came through. This was a transaction that came through. Do you know this? Is this something you want? This is a little, this is not something that usually you do. So we wanted to make you aware of it. I love this app. I use it all of the time. Where the hell is it? It's right here. It's right there. I use it all the time, and I make sure that tons of notifications to let you know, because I'm telling you, man, you'd be surprised how many subscriptions that you haven't managed over the year, and it tells you what you're spending money on monthly. And you go, wait a minute, I had to cancel. The second I signed up, cancel. Did all that. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way. Go to rocketmoney.com/thing. That's rocketmoney.com/thing. rocketmoney.com/thing. I'm telling you, I was thrilled when I heard that they were coming on. I was like, yes. That is the easiest thing in the world for me to talk about, because I love Rocket Money. I love it. I am telling you you'll be so happy when you start to put in, and you're like, oh, this subscription, get rid of it all if you don't need it. It'll save you so much money, and you're going to thank me, and you're going to thank them. So again, if you want to help out the show, then you definitely try it out. If you want to help out yourself, then you definitely try it out. All right, let's get to the next one. Did you guys watch this Napoleon trailer? Joaquin Phoenix, about 6 feet tall or something, a little longer. There's not necessarily no Napoleon complex here, but who cares? Ridley Scott's new epic starring Joaquin Phoenix trailer dropped. And what's funny about it is, as it dropped, I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh man, it's got a kind of Gladiator vibe to it. And then it says, directed by Ridley Scott. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I think people are going to make the obvious thing of the height, and then you either got to get over it or you don't. I got over it fast. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon, pretty awesome, pretty awesome. I want to see it. I want to see how it's got to be like a 3-hour movie, right? It's got to be, and just learning about what and how Napoleon kind of came into power, and what he did in order to get there, and the fact that they did all the different things, and the tyrant portion of it, and all that. I thought it looked great. I saw a couple of different trailers I thought looked really good. And one I didn't really talk about was the Bob Marley trailer also. Thought that looked fantastic. So there's some upcoming movies, biopic movies. And what's that dude's name, man? The guy from Secret Invasion, and then he was also Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. That dude is a star. Kingsley Ben-Adir. This guy's a superstar. This guy is a superstar. He is so good in everything he is in, and he looked phenomenal as Bob Marley. So the Bob Marley script, I actually read a version of the Bob Marley script like 23 years ago. I don't know if it's the same one, but I was a big Bob Marley guy, like everybody else in college. And when I remember when I first got to L.A., someone had given me the script, and I read it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. And it never came out. Then fast forward, here it is. And they got this dude. And, man, it looked really good. So, yeah, I'm excited for both trailers. Very curious to hear what you guys think. All right, next story is one that we've been talking about a lot on here, and let's talk about the box office. Insidious. So it's like the fifth one or something? Well, Sony's horror thriller Insidious: The Red Door is coming in ahead of expectations. The film pulled in $15.2 million on its opening day, including $5 million in previews. So it did a total of $32.7 million. Indiana Jones did $26.5. Sound of Freedom did $18.2. Elemental did $9.6, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse did $8. Start with Elemental, right? Elemental's starting to make a bit of a push, and it's still so far. I think the movie cost like $200 million to make. Made $251 million worldwide so far. So it is going to start to get to a place where it might break even. And when it first came out, it looked like it was going to be one of the bigger bombs. Now it's not going to be a massive hit, but it's kind of like the little engine that could, right? It's making money every weekend because it's one of the only games in town for kids to go and check out. Like my wife and my kids went and saw it the other day. I still haven't seen it. The Indiana Jones movie still at number 2 is like $247 million with a $300 million budget. And as this movie comes out in the Mission Impossible next week, it's going to be harder and harder for this movie to break even. So it was a disappointment and goes into the bigger point of the larger budget. The two that really stand out, obviously, I mean, you got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse still making money. We'll start with that one. That's got $642 million worldwide. It's a massive hit, and it's on it. The two that stand out, though, are Sound of Freedom and Insidious, because they're both small budgets. I think, let's see, I don't remember how much. Sound of Freedom, I think, cost something like $15 million or something along the lines. It's already made $40 million worldwide, and same thing with Insidious, something like $15 million to make or less, and it's made 65 so far, and it's one of the biggest overseas horror movies that they've done so far, or something along those lines. Two things too. It just goes back to what we've been talking about: movies that people are passionate about, and movies that people really want to see. And if you make it at a lower budget, and you can get people out there, you're making money. So, and first of all, for all the people who are going to write, "Hey, have you reviewed Sound of Freedom yet?" Please include when you write that. Please include, have you seen Sound of Freedom yet, Insidious, and Elemental? Because the answer is no on all three. If you are legit asking me because you just want me to see the movie because you've seen the movie, you like it, there's other movies too that you've seen that you want me to see, please. But if you're doing it for like a political agenda, please stop. I want to see it. I want to see Elemental. I want to see Insidious. I'm going to see all these movies. I'll probably wind up seeing them all in the when it comes to streaming. I want to see all three of them because I heard all three of them are good. So I'm looking forward to seeing all three of them. When I get a chance to see it, I will. But if you're legit asking me because you've seen it and you think it's a great movie, great. But if you know what you're doing, stop. There's no teams. I don't play on different teams. There's two different teams that everyone's on. I don't play on the different teams. I watch the movies that I want to see, and I heard good things about it, so I'll check it out. Same thing with Insidious: The Red Door. Heard really good things about it. I want to check it out. I missed it. Same thing about Elemental. Missed it. I also missed what happens too. They'll send screenings, and both Sound of Freedom and Elemental did send a screening. I just didn't see it. I didn't see the movie. And Insidious, I didn't get. I had to follow up to the studios, and I didn't. So that was on me, and I didn't get a chance to do it. But I do want to see all of them, and especially the fact that they're all doing really well on Sound of Freedom and Insidious are doing really well on the budgets that are out there. So it's what they've done. That's what I hope starts to happen. Even with these big, huge movies, instead of these inflated, unrealistic $300 million budgets on a movie, on a franchise that nobody was really kind of clamoring for, besides like people like myself and some other people in my generation, like, you're going to spend $300 million on a movie. You better make sure that it's a worldwide thing that people really want to see. If not, then take a shot. And if you're going to do a movie like an Indiana Jones movie, like $150 million would have made sense. I would have understood that for sure. But if you're doing something like Insidious and you're like, yeah, we're going to make another one. We're going to make it for $15 million. And we're going to hope to really get some marketing out there. And we're going to hope to turn a profit on it. And then you make $35 million on your first weekend. Well done. Same thing. Sounds of Freedom costs nothing to, I mean, not nothing to make, but 15 million, 20, whatever it does 40 million overall. Well done. That's how you do it. And I hope that more people do that. So I think that's how you do these movies. And I hope that they do it more with the big budgets as well. All right, let's move on to something. Let's go to the Warner Brothers side of things. There's been consistent talk with Constantine 2, what's going to happen. I Am Legend. Well, apparently it's still going to happen. Continuing the promotion of the Apple TV series The Crowded Room, starring Tom Holland and Amanda Seyfried, creator Akiva Goldsman spoke with the playlist about his other two projects in the works. Two titles he is attached to write are two high-profile sequels for his 2007 feature I Am Legend, starring Will Smith, and the Keanu Reeves-led 2005 film Constantine. With the writer's strike on, Goldsman couldn't say much as everything is on hold, but he was able to confirm that those sequels are still happening and are next on his agenda once the strike is over. My pen is down, so there's nothing to do. But yeah, those things are next. I'm writing when I'm allowed to write again. And I've already begun I Am Legend 2, and we started the strike, and Francis Lawrence, Keanu Reeves, and I have broken Constantine 2. I just haven't started typing yet. Hasn't started typing yet. But it's weird because Constantine 2 is kind of going back and forth. It is happening. It isn't happening. Keanu's not sure. He is sure. He's not sure. Nobody knows. And then I Am Legend was something. I think that more people, maybe I'm wrong, but I think more people want Constantine 2 than they do I Am Legend, even though I Am Legend probably did better than Constantine 1, if that makes sense. And not because of the Will Smith that's happened recently. I am someone who thinks that we live in an age. It depends on what somebody does, obviously, but I think that we are in a place where there are people who are just want people to. That's it. You did something. You're out for good, no matter what. See you later. And I don't agree with what Will Smith did, but at all. But I do think that, to me, I accepted his apology when he said it. I believed him. I think Chris Rock came back and smacked him verbally. So I think I think he's taken some shots himself. So, and there'll be some people, and I think they're more than their right to never want to watch a Will Smith movie ever again. They're more than their right. I don't think that they should chastise those who decide they want to see it. Now, if Will Smith decided that he was going to double down and continue to stand by it and stand by what he did, I don't know if I necessarily would support him because I didn't agree with what he did. But whether you think, well, he apologized because he had to, it very well could be true. And he's a very good actor, but I bought it. That being said, I'm interested. I didn't love I Am Legend, but I'd be interested to see it again and just to see where the story goes, how it plays. So yeah, I'm down to see that one. But Constantine 2, funny enough, same thing. Like if you went back and you asked which one I liked better, when you went back from when I saw them initially, I probably both have only seen them once a piece. And at the time, I probably would tell you that I liked I Am Legend better. But I think as time went on, I became so much more of a Keanu Reeves fan. I always liked Keanu Reeves, but I've just become so much more of a fan of his in general. And do I think that Will Smith is the better actor? I know it's not a comparison piece here, but yes, I do. There's just something about Keanu Reeves where he's just the most likable, cool motherfucker that there is, that you just root for the guy. And he does something that very few people continue to do. He'll do a couple of these and he'll hit the big one. And then he starts to go like this. You're like, oh, it was fun while it lasted. And then he hits another big one. You're like, oh, that was fun while it lasted. And then he goes down. Oh, and then he does it again. And he did that. And whether it was, obviously John Wick was the recent one. He did The Matrix, Speed, Bill and Ted, all these movies that he's done, and he's just continuing. And then you read all this stuff about him, and if you follow this channel, I had the privilege of being able to meet him through Boom Studios for his comic, and he's everything you wanted the guy to be. Yeah, he's everything you wanted him to be. So I root for him. So I've become more of a Keanu Reeves fan over the last couple of years, and I'm more intrigued because he just, and again, not to say that Will Smith doesn't, but there just seems to be a certain passion that Keanu Reeves puts into what he's doing, whether it is the comic book, whether it is John Wick movies, whatever it might be. I'm very interested to see what this evolves kind of Keanu Reeves, somewhat almost 20 years, will be, I guess, 20 years by the time that they do the sequel, what that's going to look like. So I'm a little bit more intrigued with that. And how is it going to fit into the DCU, if it does at all, or is it Elseworlds, which I think that they said it might be? What do you guys think? Are you excited for this? Do you think it'll work? Go ahead and comment and tell me exactly what you think. Which one are you looking forward to more? Okay. James Gunn. We're 2 years out. This is again from Dark Horizons. We're 2 years out from Superman Legacy hitting cinemas, and the film's director, James Gunn, has offered some more tidbits about the film in a series of social media postings regarding to fan questions. As we know, the film isn't an origin story, but will be set in Superman's early days, so Clark Kent, David Corenswet, and Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan, will be working together at the Daily Planet. Speaking on Threads, Gunn confirms it also won't be an origin story of how Clark came to work on the news outlet. Rather, he'll be employed there in his earlier days at the Daily Planet. Next up, he shot down the talk of members of the Authority being in the film. A fan asked for a hint regarding the main villain of the film, and said, "We already know the Authority will be present." Gunn responded, "I never said the Authority would be present." That response comes in the wake of recent talk that multiple heroes will appear in the film, such as Mr. Terrific and members of the Authority. We do know a movie about the Authority is in the first phase of the new DCU Studios slate. Also on the slate is the animated Creature Commandos series, with Gunn confirming that the series will take place in a modern day and not World War II setting. The film is dubbed a DC version of a Universal's Monsters team-up movie. Finally, Gunn shot down the rumor that the new DCU has led to the second half of the fourth season of Doom Patrol being shelved. Gunn said he has confirmation they are coming, just the premiere date hasn't been set yet. So he did. So I'm going to disagree with the article here. It says, next up, he shot down talk of members of the Authority being in the film. He said, "I never said the Authority would be present." That's not shooting it down. That James Gunn is cagey. James Gunn will say things like, "Well, I never said that." He didn't definitively say they're not in it. He said, "I never said that." He also said George Clooney wasn't in The Flash. So that, unfortunately, that's what you're going to have to start saying now. That's the problem with social media. When you say no, and something is, you get into that, oh, okay, Benedict Cumberbatch isn't Khan. So it doesn't. It's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to believe it. That's why I think that he's really good at answering fans and doing stuff, and I'm excited to see his version of it. I really am. I think that the stuff he's been doing lately, the Suicide Squad, Guardians 3, some of my favorite stuff that he's done, Peacemaker, he's on another level right now when it comes to his writing and directing. I think he's been doing great stuff, and the fact that they gave him DC, I'm on board for it. And there's a lot of people who aren't, but I am. But I still think there's certain things that he does on social media that's great, and then there's other times where it's just like, James, come on, dude, not necessary, and saying definitively no. And then, like, again, with this particular thing with the Authority, it's like, I never said they were in it. But he could have followed up again, but I never said that they weren't. So I push back that he shot down rumors of it. I just think he's being a little cagier. They very well might not be in the movie, but don't be fooled by his words. He knows how to use words very well. He's a very smart man. What else? When it comes to David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, I love that we're not doing another origin story. I think it's similar to kind of what they did with Spider-Man, which made a lot of sense. It's like, yeah, it's like the early days. It's just him kind of getting used to being into the city and all that, and it's him figuring out Metropolis, and he's been working there a little bit, and Superman is a thing, and all that. And I hope it's a scaled down Superman, meaning, and I'm not going to go over the budget again, but I mean something like not something like, other aliens from other beings and all this stuff happened. A smaller scale Superman. They focus on Lex and focus on those things. Eventually we can get there, but I think a smaller scale just Superman story That's what I'm interested in. I might be in the minority, but I'm very curious to see how they're going to play it. It's becoming a very highly anticipated film for me, and I'm very curious to how, because Warner Bros. Still hasn't announced whether they're going to be in San Diego or not, Comic-Con. I found this last story pretty interesting. Elizabeth Olsen says that she hopes to one day get to explore the mutant side of her Wanda Maximoff, the Secret Witch character, in the MCU. In the comics, her character is one of the most powerful mutants, but the MCU has yet to introduce the X-Men proper and has only barely hinted at mutants with one vague reference in WandaVision. Well, that's not true. Okay, and another more direct. Excuse me, I'm sorry. In Ms. Marvel and Patrick Stewart's Professor X cameo. Despite her characters seemingly being crushed by a falling temple in last year's Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, many believe that that's not the end of Wanda. I don't think so either. Appearing at the TJH Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con this week, Olsen was asked where she would like to see her character go in the future, to which she quickly responded saying, "Oh gosh, I just want to figure out the whole mutant thing. Like, that's really, and none of us can do anything about it. Like, we can't do anything about it. We're not X-Men, but gosh, I just love to explore that so much. I think X-Men was definitely my first experience with superhero-type films. The closest Wanda has come to the X-Men has been Catherine Hahn's Agatha Harkness, who says that Maximoff's proximity to the Infinity Stone in Vision's forehead amplified something that was already inside of her. Marvel Studios will tease another X-Men connection with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to show up in next year's Deadpool 3 in some form. How and when the MCU's version of X-Men will officially appear is not yet clear." Well, I think that the idea that a lot of times when the actor wants nothing to do with it anymore, they go, I'm done. I did my thing. I'm out. And then basically what that means is, I don't know, if they unload a big pile of money in my backyard, maybe I'll do it. But this seems like she wants to do it again. And I think that if you watched her interview with Josh Horowitz, Happy, Sad, Confused. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It seemed, and I don't know, maybe if you talk to her without cameras on and without microphones on, maybe you get this out of her, maybe you wouldn't. But I don't know if she was a big fan of the film. And the only reason I say that is from the interviews that I've seen her, whether it was on that show or other shows, where she just seemed like she was a little frustrated in a way where it was like, wow, they didn't really even watch WandaVision. She didn't say it that way. She said it in a way that could have been construed as, no, she just said that's just what it was. And I'm reading into it maybe, and maybe it's not accurate whatsoever. But it just seems like she doesn't want that to be the end of how she plays that character. Now, I think if it would have ended with WandaVision, maybe she would have been, because WandaVision I thought was fantastic. I thought it was great. And I was not looking forward to that show. I thought it was fantastic. I watched it again recently. It's a fantastic show. And I think she's great as Wanda. I don't love what happened because in Doctor Strange 2, because it just kind of happened. And I don't think it was a great transition. I know some people disagree, but that's the way I feel. And I'm with her. I'd like to see them explain a little bit more of the mutant side of it and how that could play. So fingers crossed, because I think that the bigger conversation, which I've been very adamant about, is that as much as I love time travel and as much as I love the multiverse stuff, and not necessarily in Marvel and DC and all that stuff, and in the actual theorizing of whether or not how much it really exists and if it could ever be tapped into and all that, it's fascinating to me, right? But I don't think it works for the MCU. I think that it's too confusing. I think there's just too much going on. I don't think they've explained it or utilized it well enough yet. So I think that the future of the MCU, once they get past the multiverse saga and all that stuff, is really both Fantastic Four and X-Men. I think you could play with the X-Men for years, standalone movies and I mean years. It could be many phases of Marvel. Wolverine movies, Rogue movies, Cyclops movies, Storm movies, and then an X-Men movie. It's similar to how they used to do it with the Avengers. You could play with them for forever. For a Magneto movie, you could be forever. You could be playing with those characters now that they got them back for a while. And I think that'll be the history, or it should be the history of the future of the MCU after they figure out all this stuff. And we're talking 10, 15, 20 years into the future here. But I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to tie it all in, and that's ultimately where we are with the X-Men and with Marvel and how we could potentially use Scarlet Witch. But what do you guys think? Any of the stuff we talked about today? Please let me know. Comment. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are found. As I mentioned, please, 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 if you're able to, sign up to Rocket Money today. Sign up to them today. Use my code, and I would love for them to come back and be a sponsor or a regular sponsor on this show. You guys can make that happen. And that's how you support the show. People ask all the time how to support the show. I don't do live shows, so they say, well, what about Super Chats? I mean, no, and we do live streams on a different channel, but like that's here, if you really want to support the big thing, find a sponsor that's right for you. And I honestly think Rocket Money is for everyone. I think everyone should have this, especially with the amount of streaming people sign up to and other things they sign up to. I think everybody should have Rocket Money. And I promise you, I use it every day. And I hope that you guys will too and use our code, because people have said they want to help us get to become the number one kind of movie show in this space. In order to do that, help us out. Get those sponsors. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show today. We'll be back on Wednesday. And tomorrow, I think there's some other things. I don't know. We'll see if there's any short videos. But for the most part, check out Katie Sackhoff's show over on her channel. I'm producing that show, and I hope you enjoy it. Got Bryce Dallas Howard on there. We got a new episode coming up on Wednesday with Katie and I talking a little bit about the Bryce episode, and then we announce our special guest, our new guest for next week. So check it out. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.